Okay, I've done a little bit more work on the boat and put wooden stringers around, and just in here I've used just small pieces of wood to strengthen it up and also to push these stringers into a good shape so that it's got a good symmetrical even shape. Also around the top I've placed some flat pieces of wood which will eventually have a rubber seal round, so when the top goes on and bolts down it'll hold that nice and firm and make it watertight. Also here I've put in the rudder, and right on the bottom there you can see I've put a spacer. It's the spacer here with a screw in it. That's just out of an old wall socket. You get those little brass fittings out of them and shape them up to fit, and I'm going to use that to put a little rubber seal in there and squash it up against the outside of the hole so it keeps it fairly watertight. And there you can see the outer tube, which you can see I'm using the point with, is actually a solid brass rod going inside the tube, which you can just see there. And the solid brass rod I've painstakingly hacksawed right the way through. It's not that easy to do and a bit time consuming, but you hacksaw right the way through there, and then I've just soldered the brass sheeting in there to make the rudder. A little bit painstaking, but it's well worthwhile taking the time. The brass sheeting comes from Bunnings or Mitre 10, and that's a packet of K&S tubing there, and it's only about $10 a packet. It's really quite cost effective. I think this here cost $9. Quite thin, so I actually folded it over and put solder in the right in between it and squashed it down with a weight, and then soldered it into the rod. Because the keel's quite thin, I think that's 6mm, that keel. I've also put those two blocks of wood on just to give it a bit of strength. So the tubing is 4.5 meters wide or diameter, so yeah, just put a couple of blocks of wood just to strengthen up that keel, that hole going through there. Yeah. Also have connected up the servo just with a bit of really thin rod. What the copper wire fits into it makes it nice and strong, and you can see over here, which is beeping crazy. I don't know why. Must be a bit of noise coming from somewhere. Yeah, so works really well. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to make the rudder a bit more firmer and give it a little bit more substance by gluing into place these pieces of wood here. And the best way to do that is obviously cut the shape, have two of them, and I'm going to have one either side and check it out so that it fits neatly over the keel. Check that part here out. In other words, you can see the line there, which I'll take that keel is 6mm wide, and so are these pieces of wood for the rudder part. So I need to take 3 meters either side out. Once that's glued into place, probably put a couple of bolts in there as well. I'll also screw on a piece of brass, a nice heavy piece of brass, to use for ballast as well, so that if it gets into a bit of rough water, the boat will right itself. We'll also have a hole in it that will support that rudder shaft as well. So that's what I'm going to do now, and the way I'm going to do it to make it nice and accurate is to use the bench saw and set it down really, really low. That's only 3mm above the table height, and then just feed these through and increase and bring the gate closer to the saw blade by 3mm each time. Wee bit painstaking, but it comes out nice and perfect and accurate. Yeah. Right, so here's my attempt at doing it. I just did one. That's about 3mm into the piece of wood, and I will show you. And now you have to be very careful, especially when you're doing it one-handed, but I'm quite confident that I can do it safely. I have had an accident with it once before, and I can tell you it wasn't pretty, but you learn things from that, don't you? Rightio, I've done the I don't know what to call it, the keel rudder, and checked those pieces out painstakingly with the bench saw. Had to tidy it up a little bit with a chisel and the sanding, but it fits on there quite nicely, and that will go there, and the other side clips on together. Okay, I probably don't really need to show you this, but I'm going to anyway. That there is really good glue. You can see it's got a model plane on there. The good thing about this stuff is that it dries relatively quickly and it's very strong. So I recommend it. It is half the price of the stuff you'll get in the model shop, which is no different in my view. Anyway, so as I showed you before, I've got these all checked out, ready to go. So I'm just going to put lots of glue on it over the whole thing. There you go, that looked good. Okay, I've been doing a little bit more work on the boat, haven't been getting it to it as quick as I'd like, but I've had a bit of a problem with trying to fit the motors into the bottom of the boat. I want them to go about there. They actually come with these little clip things that you could bolt them on with, onto the rudders with, but I don't really like it. I think it looks feeble and weak. So what I thought of doing was these pieces here, just bits of PVC that I got from the local plastic merchant, and these are just sample pieces that you can take away. So when he wasn't looking, I grabbed a handful of those, and I'm going to put a piece of wood in here and bolt these into here. The best way then to mount the motor onto that is just with the glue, just with this glue here, just plumber's glue, and that's a piece of drain pipe there, and that's only been on there for less than an hour, and it's really strong. So that'll be bolted under there, and the motor will sit inside there. I've gone ahead and done some pieces already, and this is the drain pipe here. The motor goes into that, and I'll probably just put a bit of silicone to hold it, and then I've had to put a spacer piece there to glue on, and then the outer piece with some holes in it to let the water in. Don't know whether that'll work. Give it a try, pull it all apart. If it doesn't, then start again. And once again, these pieces I'll glue as I did the other one around like that, and then just have it so that that's mounted there on that. And I've just put holes in there to facilitate the water getting in, and you might notice it's a wee bit burnt. That's the easiest way to get all the little rags off when you've drilled the holes. Come up quite good. So let's just see what happens. Back with you soon. I forgot one small detail in that last stretch, and that was the sample piece that I got from the plastic merchant, and how I attached it to the piece of drain pipe. This is just a test to see that it works. So all I did was use one of those handheld blow torches and heated it up along there, and then just held it on to form the shape. And it's a bit difficult to do without burning your fingers, but I'll figure out a better way to make the shape even better. And then of course you need to tidy it up a little bit with a piece of sandpaper before you glue it, but that's how I done that.